What's up? I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast,
where we interview successful businessmen and women to let you in on why success doesn't have a single formula to follow.
We also have a little bourbon tasting along the way, because why not?
Why not?
So guys, please enjoy this episode and let us know your thoughts at Bourbon and Business Podcast on Instagram.
Coming to you from the Bourbon and Business Studio, I'm Tyler.
I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast. The new intro, these past two episodes throwing me off a little bit, Dakota.
I know your floating head is beautiful, though, Tyler. I just love it.
Yeah, I hate that we don't have the beautiful views of the Capitol Club. You want to tell our listeners about the Capitol Club?
The Capitol Club is the premier event space in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. They've got event spaces, they've got networking events, they've got regular events, they've got a bar on the rooftop, which is sick. They've got a parking garage, daily lunches. They've got it all. So if you're not a member of the Capitol Club, you are missing out. Go check out their website, sign up.
For sure. And then who is our guest this morning?
Today we have special guest Mark Antal, founder and CEO of Staked AI. Mark, welcome.
Good to be here, boys. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. And even though I said it's the morning, it's actually the afternoon.
We would have known that unless you had said so. So well done.
What are we sipping on, Dakota?
Today, sipping on Clermont Steep right here. This is a small batch American single malt whiskey, and it is dadgum good. All barley barrels is what they use, or not barrels. All barley is what they use in their ingredients.
That is impressive.
Barley barrel. Imagine that. This is malted barley. It's really good. I think it's like a 94 proof, which is right up there towards my sweet spot, like a 105 to a 105. But got a nice burn to it, but it's not too heavy on the flavor. I really, really like it, dude. I'm only at 9.2.
Huh? 9.2. So
yeah.
What's the highest rating that you've ever given on the pod?
We've given I think we gave it 10 one time, didn't we?
Did we give it 10? Yeah, I think we have given out one.
It was really good. That thing was amazing. We've given a couple 10s. We've given like some 9s and some 10s. We had a rating one time in Nashville that we went to, and that was really good. We went to the actual distillery where it was made and like tried it. I mean, it was the freshest you could get. It was fantastic. So really good.
I got to get the 10 list and get myself a couple bottles.
I was gonna say we need to come up with a rating list that we can put on our website. That'd probably be
we'll get Adam to do that for sure. He can go back and listen to all our episodes.
I want to thank our sponsor, Cheers Gluckstadt in Gluckstadt, Mississippi, or Cheers Vineyard in Gluckstadt, Mississippi. If you're looking to purchase a bourbon or liquor of any sort, they can help you out and ask for JT. Well, Mark, we appreciate you coming on today. We like to always start this, just kind of give our listeners your background, where you're from, and then how you founded your company.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Mark Antal. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. Go Browns. Although it's a tough life living the Browns fan life.
I understand.
I'm a Seahawks fan, so I get it too.
Okay. How did I start my company? Well, first of all, what do? We are a AI audio company tailor-made for the sports sector. So we allow sports marketers to create personalized short-form podcasts faster than they can tweet. So we've built a AI agentic platform that automates the creation of audio content. We automate research, we automate script writing, and then we have audio models that are trained on how to pronounce player names and how to use casual sports speaking conventions. So if you're talking about soccer, right, it's a match, not a game. It's a kit, not a jersey. So all of those
field, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All of those dialects all of those like attributes of the sports dialect that make content authentic, we've taught AI audio models how to speak sports talk.
Wow.
So how did I start it? I was a fantasy football commissioner, and I was tired of spending 2 hours a week writing a newsletter for my buddies. So my last company was AI in Hollywood. We used AI to understand the relationship between stories and audiences. And this was like back right before ChatGPT launched, using sort of the predecessor technology. So I was using this stuff at work, and I was like, if I'm helping Disney and Netflix, like I should be able to help myself save 2 hours a week. So I automated the generation of a newsletter personalized to my fantasy football league. And then the audio models had like a quantum leap in sort of the emotional intelligence and just like the quality, where they don't sound robotic anymore. And so ultimately, sports is a conversational product, right? There's two commentators for every game. You and I will have more fun talking about a game than we will watching a game by ourselves. So I started distributing little mini AI podcasts to my buddies. They loved it. I ran some Instagram ads to see, do I have weird buddies, or do other people want this as well? And got a great response from the fan community, saying that people will not only like it, but they'd be willing to pay for it. Talked to a bunch of sports businesses that were like, yeah, we would love to engage our audience through. I say audio is three-dimensional, right? You can engage while you're walking your dog, while you're driving your car. You don't have to be looking at a two-dimensional screen. So the idea resonated with all of the key constituents, fans, and sports marketers. So started building in October, and we started generating revenue last month. We launched our product in May. We got a couple of clients in the fantasy and sports betting space. We're talking to teams, leagues, and media companies to go after sort of the big players. But starting by serving startups where, I'm sure you guys know, right? It's a lot easier to look a founder in the eyes, do a deal, face to face with the decision maker, than it is to go through the corporate bureaucracy of a big company. So starting where we can move fast, with aspirations of getting into the large teams, the large leagues, the large media companies as we scale and as we grow.
That's super cool. I love the story too. That I was a commissioner and I just got tired of doing this. So that's something that I feel like me or Tyler would super relate to. It's like, I do not want to do this anymore. So how can I figure out how to do this better? And then it turned out to be a, multi-million, probably billion-dollar industry at some point, just to, for the type of content it is, because that hyper-personalized micro snippet is going to be like the future. So Perplexity is it's like a ChatGPT, but it's like a website. They have a Perplexity Finance option now. And so I work in wealth management, and that was very appealing to me because they take 85 different trusted business sources like MSP, CNBC, Fox, CNN, all of them, and they condense it down into like 6 main points. And they're like, hey, here's what's going on in the markets today and why. And it's got like an overall market sentiment, like upbeat, neutral, negative, So it's like a little snapshot right there. So you can just understand what's going on before you read all these different and just waste all this time. Right. So now it takes me 5 minutes to read that. But even if it was audio, that'd be even better, to just be able to listen to it and say, hey, this is super cool. Now I know everything I need to know, and if I'm a Seahawks fan and knowing everything about what happened at the game last night, so twisted their ankle, so they're probably out for the next, whatever the information is, that's super helpful.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's really powerful about Perplexity, Tyler, sorry to cut you off, is they've actually weighted the reliability of each data source, right? So they'll know that the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal is more reliable than the Onion. Right. If you're getting your AI news from the Onion, that's not going to help anybody. And so like one of the things we're trying to do is not only use, like, a lot of our clients have their own data, their own content. We prioritize that. That's the most important piece of information. But then supplementing where there are gaps in their coverage with reliable sources of intel from the sports world that's up to date. Sports media moves so fast, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to know at halftime the inside scoop, that's a harder challenge than it sounds.
And not just having to sit there and refresh your app every second, waiting for a news reporter to write an article on it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
How do you foresee this changing the sports world? So, traditionally you would tune into your halftime show or to your, pardon my take or whatever it is, Sports Center when we were growing up was day round, just talking heads telling you, hey, here's what's going on in the sports world. How do you see AI changing that?
Yeah, so I'll focus on two components. I think number one, there's no replacing human content creators. Like, AI is only as good as the previous information that's available, right? So if sports media stops creating content, there'll be nothing for the AI to learn from. So where we want to help is when is game day media moves so fast that you can't write an article about every single thing that's happening on the field, right? And there are so many stories that go untold or are undertold because of just the time and the pace, and then the moment has passed. So using AI to fill those gaps and to create a voice for any fan. I like to say that the Taylor Swift fan wants something very different from a Chiefs game than the X's and O's junkie, and Chris Collinsworth is only capable of telling one story at a time. But with AI, there's no reason why those two fans shouldn't be able to consume something that's super rewarding for each of them. So being able to not replace the human content creators, but to amplify their voice to speak to every fan in a way that really resonates and stimulates their interests. I think that's
so it's like hyper personalized.
Exactly. And then once we get to that hyper personalized, I think that from a business standpoint, the way that that's transformational is transforming sports from mass media to mass micro media. So, like, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. LeBron is my favorite player, but he's had a huge impact on my life and like the financial well-being of the people I grew up with, right?
Sure.
People who own restaurants or work in restaurants, when LeBron was playing, they made a lot more money than when he left for Miami. Just he puts 1,100 kids through school every single year in Northeast Ohio. I would much rather see a Nike ad that shows LeBron in the community than LeBron on the court. But that may not be the case for the masses. So Nike showcases him on the court, but when it's personalized, when I'm the only one consuming the content, I can get an ad that is not only the brand that I love, but the athlete that I love in a setting that resonates most with me. And then you think about the effectiveness of that marketing. I feel like to think that we're going to take the next leap from it went from traditional to programmatic. And then now it's about going from programmatic to personalized. And we want to be the vehicle for doing that. Sort of like what TikTok did for social video, but for sports audio.
That's fantastic, man. Because you're right. That's a next level step there, and there's going to be a multiplier on that nobody knows yet.
Yeah,
the numbers behind that will be incredible. Tyler, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, now like you're talking about the algorithm, it really knows who you are, what you're looking for, so it's feeding you all this personalized content. Do you ever think there will come a time like where you're missing out on information you would have never come across just because of how personalized uh, the algorithm's getting? Do you think that will be an issue?
I don't think so. I mean, I look at TikTok as like the best personalization product that exists today. And really, what do they do? They just keep pushing stuff and then they test, right? They see, what do you stay on for more than an instant? What do you watch to completion? And then that informs what's the type of thing that you're interested in. And then that feeds the next wave of content that you get exposed to. So I think our goal is to sort of do something similar where it's like, listen, if you start listening to an audio and it doesn't capture your interest right away and you skip it or you leave the app, the system will learn from that and will work on not only the topics that we're covering, but the way that we introduce it. So I think that, it's like A/B testing at scale, and having that A/B testing be through a test group of individual people rather than like, oh, there's this group of 100 people and this group of 100 people, let's compare. It'll be, Tyler, here's 100 data points from you and another 100 data points from you, and compare those two data sets for you specifically. So I don't worry too much about that, but it's an interesting question to think about.
Well, I think a lot of that's going to be up to the consumer too, because I mean, to a point, Tyler, your question's already been kind of answered, I guess, by like Instagram and Facebook, A/B testing this kind of stuff, and TikTok all the time. So, it's just like your Instagram feed. If you, like a bunch of photos or search some stuff, then, if you're searching cars on Instagram, it's going to start showing you a bunch of cars. Right? If you're searching for these certain people, like these certain famous people, it's going to start, feeding you more famous people that have been in movies with them or, related to them in some form of fashion. So it's up to the person or the consumer. If you don't want it hyper personalized, then you have to like turn those settings off or like not use it, I guess. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's going to be an interesting way that evolves though into the future. That'll be interesting to see if there's any government regulation around that, or is it just a setting you can turn on and off? Like how do you manage that with people's personal information and all that kind of stuff? And is it stored anywhere? I know that's a huge thing still with ChatGPT, and they're like, no, it's not. We only keep 15 seconds to train the AI, and it's like, do I believe that though? Can you prove it? You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting.
Yep. I mean, I think. Sorry, you go ahead, Tyler.
No, well, and I was just going to say, it is very bizarre. Used to, now that you mention it, you'd get on Facebook, and really, I was getting on to say, hey, I wonder what Dakota's up to. Let's look to see, what are my friends and family doing? Whereas now, like, you don't ever see that information hardly. If you get on Facebook, unless I type Dakota's name in, I'm probably not going to see what he's posting. You're seeing mainly reels and things like that. So it is, I mean, the world is changing, and including social media has totally changed.
Well, you'll call me. So I know if Tyler needs something, he just called. He's very old school. He's not searching on social media. He's going to call me and be like, hey, man, what'd you do yesterday? I'm like, Tyler, I didn't work.
And you probably pick up the phone. You're probably like, hey, what's wrong? Who died?
I think that's why he does it, because he knows people. He's like playing off people's fears, because like nobody calls anybody anymore. So he's like, Tyler's calling. What's going on, dude? And he's like, nothing, man. I was wondering, are you going to be at lunch today? I'm like, you texted me.
Text takes way too long.
You and this instant gratification stuff. Well, Mark, tell us a little bit about the rest of this year for Stake. What's it look like? Are there any milestones coming up or anything?
Yeah, so we're externalizing the platform before football season. So we're beta testing right now. What that means is content creators will be able to log in to Staked AI, go to our website, sign up, subscribe to the platform, integrate it with their content or their data, create content campaigns, and distribute directly to users. One big thing from a product standpoint we're working on right now is our embeddable player. And so we have an audio embeddable that one line of code you can plug into your app or your website to allow our audio to live natively within the place where you find your users. And what's interesting about ours is two things. Number one, all our audio models are trained to have a narrative arc that works towards a specific action. So place a bet on this game, buy a jersey for this player, buy tickets to this game, subscribe to this newsletter, whatever the, all marketing is designed to get you to do something. And so we've trained our models to deliver interesting content that works towards getting you to tune in to watch, game 4 tonight of the Pacers versus Knicks. Our audio player has a call to action button. So we're not just telling you, hey, watch the game. You can click the button and you can subscribe to YouTube TV directly in order to then watch the game on YouTube TV. You can, if the button is about placing a bet on DraftKings, you can click the button and go to that page on DraftKings to place the bet that we're talking about. So trying to eliminate that friction between having the user think, I'd like to do this thing they're talking about, and then making that just one click away from completing that action. So I think that's, to me, I think one of the most exciting things that we're working on from a product standpoint. And, we work backwards from the seasonality of sports. So, August, September, biggest time of the year in America for sports. So we're excited to get this deployed. From a user experience standpoint, one thing that I'm excited to use the platform for through a partnership that we're working on is it's like right now, I love the fantasy footballers. They're fun. I listen to them when I have time, but a lot of weeks I don't have an hour to listen to, an hour every day to listen to their amazing content. And even when I do, I'm hoping that they spend a couple minutes addressing my players on my roster, and I'm praying that they address the one start sit that I'm thinking about. So one thing that we're working on is allowing folks like that who have content, have analysis on all the players, to create a player A versus player B personalized podcast where you come in, you say, I've got AJ Brown and I've got, I don't know, Cortland Sutton. I guess that's not a great comparison because we'd always start AJ Brown, but you and their projected output. So that'll save me a lot of time, help me get to what I want to do, which is win a lot faster.
Do you ever foresee, because that's a fascinating idea. Now I'm brainstorming about different ways to, monetize this and stuff. Do you ever foresee somebody taking their own personalized Stake AI, embedding it on their website? Let's use LeBron for an example, right? People, you either love him or hate him, right? So there's like nobody in between, it feels like. So if LeBron is like, hey, if you want to listen to sports or XYZ the way I do, here's my staked AI player. And this is like, you can subscribe to it, pay me $5 a month, $1 a month, or whatever, and you can listen to sports and consume news the way I do. Like, do you ever foresee that being like some kind of a business model?
Hell yeah. I mean, we just deployed internally, we're experimenting with voice cloning. The
Yeah.
idea would be through partnership with players, with media personalities, clone their voices and then train a model on their editorial perspective. So, like,
Yes.
imagine a Jets fan wants to get Mike Greenberg's perspective on the Jets, but they want Stephen A's perspective on the Knicks. If we
Yeah.
partner with ESPN and we work with them, we could clone their voices. We could train a model on each of those two people's perspective on their hometown teams. And then through ESPN, you could go in and you could pick which person you want to hear from, literally hear from. And it's
Yeah.
not just the voice, it's also, trained on their editorial perspective. I think those two examples are like so salient because it's like, as a Browns fan, we know the pain. Like both of those guys, they wear the pain of those two franchises on their shoulder, and I think it would be really interesting to like celebrate the wins, through the format of audio, and then also have somebody expressing through audio verbal format, the pain that the fans feel as well on any topic.
I would love to hear Stephen A. Give me a rundown of my starts from the previous week.
Oh yeah,
Tyler, my brother.
Right. Well, hey, tell our listeners a little bit about, you've told us about, staked AI and what it is. What is it like to be the CEO of the company?
I mean, it started off with me like we asked like should we even have C-level titles? Like it's like C-level of what, right? But I think that ultimately we're building this business. We have a 10-year like vision, right? And so it's like, everything we're doing today is about building something over a 10-year plan. So I think the thing that I struggle most with is balancing my need to think about the future with executing today. And I think that that's something that my team has really helped me with. It's my co-founder Chris Shreve. He's really good at taking that first step. I think I've got like this big vision. I can sell people on a vision of the future. I think he's really good at helping make that first step feel comfortable. Versus I'm like, we're going to shake things up. It's going to be way different. And Chris is like, oh no, this first step is going to be good. It's going to be painless. Like he really thrives in that. I think CY is helpful in making things relatable, easy to understand. We're dealing with some of the most complex, fastest evolving technology in the history of mankind. And CY helps me boil down these big ideas into something that are much more relatable and digestible than, I could talk about LLMs and transformers and fine tuning model distillation all day long. And it's like, for most people, it goes way over their head. She helps me like stay grounded and like, listen, it doesn't matter what you think is interesting. It matters what what's going to motivate the listener to help. Whether that listener is a user giving you their time, an investor giving you their money, or a client, committing to allocating budget towards working with us. So for me, I think that's the biggest challenge in being a CEO is the need to steer towards that future long-term vision, one step at a time, not 10 steps at a time.
So true. Well, Mark, we appreciate you coming on today. Tell our listeners what is the best way for them to connect with y'all and to use Staked AI.
Yeah. Connect with us on LinkedIn, Staked, STAKED space AI. We're pretty active. Me, Mark Antal, ANTAL. My co-founder, Chris Shreve, is way more active and way more impressive than I am. So reach out to us on LinkedIn. We'd love to chat. That's the fastest way to follow things. Pretty soon, by football season, at stakedai.com, you'll be able to get a free demo of the platform and take a look under the hood and play around with the tools and create some content for yourself and see if it's a fit for you. If you're a sports marketer, if you're a fantasy football commissioner, or just a sports fan who loves tech.
Right.
Awesome.
Well, to all our listeners, however you stream this podcast, if you would give us a rating and follow us on social media, we'll see you next week.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
If you have any feedback or would like to be featured, reach out to us at bourbonandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram at Bourbon and Business Podcast.
Thanks again for listening.
Follow us for more content and info on the next episode.